Hello everybody, this is Conquering History Games and welcome back to the channel, and subscribe if you haven't already. Today is Sunday and usually I upload a Kaiserreich guide on Sundays, but I was taking a little break and I thought that I would do something different, but something that has been asked of me for a while, and that is doing a Kaiserreich progress report for those of you who haven't read them or don't want to read them. So what I'm going to go over today is, I think, 6 different progress reports, which I will link in the description, discussing the new Italy that Kaiserreich is going to have. And I think these are coming out in 0.6, but don't quote me on that. I'm not a part of the development team. And I also didn't bother putting these in a slideshow, so I'm just going to be moving back and forth with several browser images. So this is what Italy is tentatively going to look like as of the next expansion. For a little bit of Kaiserreich, a little bit of Kaiserreich context. Italy was, of course, on the losing side of the war in the Kaiserreich timeline. They were already losing pretty badly by the time that France falls in 1919, even losing in Africa, and the Austrians and Germans are practically at the gates of Rome. Italy is, after the war, carved up. Well, not necessarily carved up, but as an entity it ceases to exist. The Austrians have garrisons within Veneto as well, which is not on this map, but it'll presumably be over here, as well as in Rome. And after the peace deal, there is a lot of fighting in the streets, and basically these different nations within Italy, what was supposed to be like a loose confederation, ends up splitting up. So you have the Republic of Italy here, which I'll talk about in more detail later. The Socialist Republic of Italy here, created out of Mussolini's brain, essentially. And this is one that the area that stabilized and would become friends with France, so that's what forms the Third International. You have the Papal States here, which would be the closest to the Italian Federation, where the Pope is in charge and you can elect new popes and then they become your new heads of government. And they are protected by the Sicilian military down here, the Kingdom of the Two Sicilies. The Republic of Italy is protected by Austria, which is going to be over here. And this is the quote-unquote legitimate government of northern Italy. Of course, these places all have claims on each other. For example, the Kingdom of Sardinia is ruled by a cousin of of the Italian royalty, and they, of course, are claiming all of Italy as well. And the Kingdom of the Two Sicilies is pretty much undamaged by the Weltkrieg and the Civil War, and while its economy is very rural, it's doing well, and it actually it's probably going to have the biggest navy. And you have different decisions to make with all of these countries, of course. Now, this is what it's going to look like. Again, just tentatively, this is what it's going to look like on the actual Hearts of Iron 4 map. And there are their flags as well. The France is going to keep Corsica here, which is going to be interesting as far as naval invasions and taking Sardinia goes and jumping off points. So that's something to look forward to, how that's going to play out. And here is just a screenshot. All of these pictures are taken from the progress report, of course, so you're just seeing different effects. You have the different nations that can exist. As you can see, there's some here that I have not talked about. Lombardia, Tuscany. I'll talk a little bit about them later, or at least Tuscany. And there's, of course, the infamous Christian socialism picture, as well as, whoops. Sorry, I got a lot of images here on the right side of my screen, and these are all of the tentative. These look to be all of the leaders for the various nations. So, of course, you will recognize that Socialist Republic of Italy has the same leader. Pope Pius, though, is now the head of the Papal States, not the Republic of Italy, and so on and so forth. So that covers basically Progress Report 31. Moving on to Progress Report 32. This is where we are going to talk about first the Kingdom of the Two Sicilies down here. Now, the Kingdom of the Two Sicilies has a very long history, which I am not going to go into right now. But essentially, the Kingdom of Two Sicilies, as I said, comes out the least damaged from the Civil War and the First World War. And you have two directions you effectively can go in. You can choose to create like your long-term goal could be to create a decentralized Italian confederation. So these are presumably all puppets of the Kingdom of Two Sicilies down here. They've increased the Papal States territory. This is taking us several centuries back in time to get these borders, but this would be one path you could take. Alternatively, arguably the more secure route would be that you could reorganize the Republic into the first Italian Empire with oh, that's so perfect. Look, somebody's playing Star Wars. I swear I didn't time that. That's awesome. All right, so the Italian Empire could be created by you. And as you can see, you even got areas down here in Dalmatia and Albania. So that'll be kind of interesting how that's going to play out. I think it'll definitely make the Balkans a more interesting place. All right, moving on. It's time to talk about the Papal States. So the Papal States are... Sorry, I'm blanking out. Yeah, so they were about to fall to the Socialist Republic of Italy. And then the Kingdom of the Two Sicilies, under King Ferdinand, secured Rome and has basically been protecting them ever since. They have a very small army, basically just an honor guard for the Pope. And that's what this is right here. They have one division, your one guard unit, and a very tiny navy. Reportedly, its biggest ship is going to be just a battlecruiser. Besides that, you just got destroyers and submarines at your disposal. And you're under the leadership of Pope Pius XI, who's really old and I think is going to die, of course, just like he usually does. And then you are early on in the game, and then you are going to have to pick which pope will be your new head of government. This is fundamentally, it looks to be the same as the Italian Federation's current focus tree, where you can go with Stephen, John, Pius XII, or Julius IV, aka Battle Pope, although it seems to have been reorganized a little bit, making more clear that the two different types of paths, like these are, well, all four have different paths, there's broadly two directions that you can go in right here. And of course this is going to negate my this is presumably all of this is going to radically change my how to form Italy peacefully guide. Over here is some more pictures of the focus tree. So you've got your political stuff, aiding the farmers and whatnot. And let's see, we got more pictures here from the focus tree. Can't see everything down here, but it looks like you're going to get out of the research slot pretty darn late. And I think it looks like even after you unite Italy, you are going to have some problems with the syndicalist guerrilla campaign. So that would be the Papal States. Moving on to Progress Report 33. This is where we talk about the actual Socialist Republic of Italy, so this big red stuff up here. Of course, born in chaos, where the workers rising up against the provisional government that was created after the First World War. This sparks the Italian Civil War when entire cities rise up in rebellion. That's when they're trying to take Rome, and then the Kingdom of Two Sicilies is securing Rome, and Austria is securing this, and so on and so forth. Mussolini, they have a quote here in the progress report. Mussolini denouncing the Republic, saying, "We go to battle against plutocratic slavery and reactionary democracy. This war is nothing less than an inevitable phase in the logical development of our revolution," etc., etc., etc. "Let none doubt our conviction between the bourgeois and the proletariat. No accord is possible." So these red guards are created, modeled off of Garibaldi's red-shirted companions, and they are going to be the backbones of your army. So what is owned here is Tuscany, Piedmont, Umbria, Elmia, and Romagna. I'm trying to see if the I don't think the progress report. Yeah, the progress report didn't have any pictures. So you have some political paths here. Whoops. 1 second. Very informal video, if you guys couldn't tell. All right. So you have the most of northern Italy being held by the commies, as I said. They're here. Then here is your political tree, which now has less branches actually than it does right now as of 0.5. You can either strengthen the chairman or strengthen the republic, but I'm sure that the developers are keeping a way for Mussolini to take charge because everybody loves him and his big hat. All right. Economy next. You will assess the economy and fix it up. Again, looks like there is just the one dividing line between basically do you want to decentralize or centralize. This is probably going to be a difference between the radical socialists and the totalists, both of course leading to the revitalized economy. And your arm, air, and navy tree. Pretty basic stuff. And they have a couple cool propaganda posters here, which I think are pretty cool. I particularly like these two with the Christian socialism. All right. The Socialist Republic of Italy, it seems to have been simplified, but the entire peninsula has gotten more complicated as a whole, so I think it'll be just fine. Let's bring these back over here. Dang it. All right, next up is Progress Report 34, the actual Republic of Italy. Now for the top right, after the Miracle of the Po, this mythologized battle in which the Republic of Italy was able to hold back the Social Republic of Italy, which is going to lead to a lot of confusion, I'm sure. It already has confused me a little bit sometimes in the progress reports when they'll talk about the Republican Army, but I mean, these are Republicans, which Republican Army are they talking about? Politics. There's an election coming up, 1936 election. You have several different focuses here. Liberal Democrats seem to be on the far left. I think these are social conservatives. This appears to be market liberals. And then the national populist, because everybody knows you can't have a political focus tree that doesn't include a national populist option, or else you're going to hear it nonstop from the fandom. And it looks like, you could extend your Austrian ties, for example, if you go to them this way. But here, because you're a national populist, you're going to probably break off from them. I don't think Austria is going to like that very much. We'll see how that goes. Economy. Tree looks more or less similar to the Socialist Republic of Italy's economy tree, but with some differences. Also, I have noticed that they seem to have gotten rid of the whole mafia subplot that the Socialist Republic of Italy used to have to deal with. I don't know if it's still going to be there, but right now it does not appear to be. Then you have got your unification tree. Incidentally, this icon right here, the beginning of the Risorgimento, this looks fantastic. I like the silhouette, the flag almost looking like there's a blood splatter. Fantastic stuff. In which you're going to go after everybody starting with the Socialist Republic of Italy because that's the neighbor, and then you take out everybody else one by one, or maybe you could create some sort of alliance here, judging by the Venetian Concordat. Then you can unite Italy, and you get some more stuff, leading down to Malta policy and Italian. So I know some Maltans who are going to be very upset about that. And finally, you have your military tree right here. Land, air, sea. Air one looks a little bit different. This one actually looks like you're going to have some sort of choices, or at least some sort of bonuses, depending on what sort of land doctrine you want to go after, presumably mobile warfare, superior firepower, and grand battle plan. So this should be interesting when it's complete. All right, now let's move on to Progress Report 35, the Kingdom of Sardinia. Right here. Under King Amadeo I, I believe this is Prince Amadeo, the Duke of Aosta, who died in 1942 in our original timeline. He sure looks like him. He was the cousin of Victor Emmanuel III, the king of Italy during the 30s and 40s. So I'm pretty sure that's who it is, because he is representing the Italian royal family as far as the different factions go. Because, I mean, basically all of these, while some of these different Italian nations can have different ideologies, they basically are each representing a certain idea of what it is going to be to rule Italy. So the Italian royal family has been exiled out here, and so they need to find shelter. They need to find friends, and that friend is probably going to be the Entente. Because it is the French Republic that owns Corsica, not the Commune of France. That's very important. And the progress report says, I guess in the context of the lore, it is this French Navy, the French Republic's Navy, that is stopping Sardinia from falling to syndicalism. Now, there is a coalition of governments that is ruling over Sardinia. As you can see, there are different political parties that are holding things together out here. It's basically everybody who's been exiled. And you do have, by the way, check out this error message. I guess they didn't like the dog, so they had to go with some sort of anime cat girl here. But you're going to have to make decisions about how you are going to run your country. Do you want to create a constitutional monarchy with open elections down here, which looks like it leads to social democrats in charge down here and the social conservatives here on the left? Or you can reinforce Amadeo's authority down here. And these are the Entente ties that it looks like it was talking about. And it'll be interesting, because what all of this seems to be doing is it seems to be creating spheres of influences in Italy, much like how there are different factions in China in Kaiserreich. So this is the Third International's representative, this is the Austrian sphere's representative, this is the Entente's representative, things like that. So you have a very small standing army, which you will need to improve. You're not going to be able to do much because you do not have much manpower. As you can see here, 19 men on January 1st. You have 19 men who haven't joined the army yet. And so you're going to need to make them better. Superior firepower may be the way to go if you are Sardinian, presumably. And of course, you have your navy tree and your air tree. Then you have your focuses that are going to allow you to attack the rest of Italy, the triumphant homecoming, etc., leading to King of all the Italians, which I'm willing to bet is going to be a ton of bonuses that are going to let you become a major power now that you've accomplished this great feat. Finally, Progress Report 36, in which we will talk about Venice and Tuscany. So, the most serene Republic of Venice is what we're talking about here. The oldest republic in the history of the world. Well, I mean, depending who you ask, it's either the longest or second oldest in the world as far as how long it did last. They are not a nation at the start. They do not exist. It's one of those minor kingdoms that could be created either by Austria, or it could be created by the Kingdom of the Two Sicilies. I think, where did I put that picture? Where's that picture? Yeah, right here. So the Kingdom of Two Sicilies can do this. They can create Venice up here where the Italian Republic was before. Getting back to the progress report. You have a political tree, which you can open your Great Council, bring back the old republic, the oldest republic. You have different foreign policies. You can choose who you're going to side with, which I think is interesting. So I think this is going to have to do with that sometimes somebody could conquer Italy, but not necessarily puppet them, because I would not. This is not going to be something that's going to happen, I'm sure, if Sardinia and the royal family comes back. They're not going to allow a smaller nation to exist on Italian soil and then side with Germany, for example. So I think this is strictly going to be something that's opened through Austria, or actually specifically if the Kingdom of the Two Sicilies decides to go with the loose confederation. So that's of course the first thing that you have to do. Are you going to go liberal, or are you going to go conservative? Next is the economy. Your safes are empty. You have to fix that. being a newly independent government and whatnot. As far as your military goes, you do have an army tree, but the main focus is going to be on the navy because that was Venice's strength historically, and it's going to be pretty much your only strength now as well. That's more or less all there is to it as far as Venice goes. Next is Tuscany, yet another country that doesn't exist at the start, but this is where our old friend Giuseppe will show up, and you need to root out the syndicalists because Tuscany is over here in this area that is at the start of the game going to be ruled by the Socialist Republic of Italy, so you have to take care of that. There is a political tree that is merged with your economic tree, in which you will create a second Renaissance, and you'll decide how do you want to do that. Do you want to do a modern Renaissance where you're going to help your farmers, or are you going to do a second Renaissance where you focus on your cities? And this is going to, apparently this path is going to give you more political power, more national unity, more manpower, but this gives you a better industry, so this is where you're going to get the factories and a population growth, probably from the expanding of the agricultural center, much like how the Pacific States of America can increase their population growth monthly. Now, next is the military tree. Pretty simple stuff. Planning the assault or bombarding the enemy. This is probably grand battle plan or superior firepower. And then you have your navy. And this is interesting because the official Naval Academy of Italy is within Tuscany, but they don't have the industry to build a navy. So you can export your admirals and basically give them to other countries and they'll get stronger or something like that. Or you can keep them at home and try the best you can with your limited resources. And the air tree is pretty simple stuff. And that is all we know right now about what the focus tree, I mean, what it's going to look like when the Italian rework is created. I think it's going to make the Balkans look pretty stable in comparison, but I'm really looking forward to it. I think it's going to be really awesome, and it's also why I haven't done any Socialist Republic of Italy or Italian Federation focus guides, because they are going to become obsolete pretty fast. So on the note of some Kaiserreich propaganda posters of our great Khan Baron, the Baron Sternberg. Thanks for your time on Concrete History Games. I hope you enjoyed the progress report, and let me know if you want me to do more of them in the future. This one was pretty informal. But yeah, subscribe, and see you guys later. Bye.